sant yàlla.
looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
A better way to pay your UTG fees with instant proof of payment and real-time student portal update. Paying your University of the Gambia fees has never been easier or more convenient. With EcoBank, students, parents and guardians can pay UTG tuition and related fees through our secure digital banking channels such as EcoBank mobile app, EcoBank Online and EcoBank Omni Lite. Once payment is completed, instant proof of payment is generated and the UTG student portal is updated in real time, allowing students to proceed immediately with registration, course selection, and clearance without unnecessary delays, while giving parents and guardians peace of mind that payments have been successfully processed. How to pay via the EcoBank mobile app. Open the EcoBank mobile app and navigate to the home screen. Select Pay Bill. Choose Pay a New Bill and select Schools from the category options. Select University of the Gambia. Select the specific product you are paying for. Enter your matriculation number and tap Continue. Validate your details. The system will display the payable amount. Press Continue to confirm the payment. An e-receipt is generated automatically as proof of payment with real-time updates on the student portal. How to pay via EcoBank Online or Omni Lite. Log in to EcoBank Online and Omni Lite using your credentials. Select the menu and choose Bill Payments. Choose Quick Bill Pay and select School from the category options. Select University of the Gambia. Select the specific product you are paying for. Enter your matriculation number and tap Continue. Validate your details. The system will display the payable amount. Press Continue to confirm the payment. An e-receipt is generated automatically as proof of payment with real-time updates on the student portal. Walk into any EcoBank branch or pay through our digital channels and enjoy instant proof of payment with real-time updates on the student portal. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
We are honored now to be joined by Professor Bill F.D., President of the Pan-African Writers Association, POWER. POWER has long been a voice of African literature, bringing together writers from across the continent to shape a shared identity and amplify African storytelling on the global stage. Professor Ndi leads this mission at a time when African voices are more vital than ever, and he joins us now to talk about the association's work, its impact, and its vision for the future. Good morning, Professor, and welcome to the Gambia.
Good morning, Miss Aji Jacob Khan.
Yes.
It is my pleasure to be on the show, and I'm honored to be here present. Thank you.
It gives us greater honor and personally great privilege to be hosting you today instead of Uncle Peter. Okay. And of course, I hope you will have just as an equally exciting conversation with me as you would with him. So getting right into it, apart from being the president of POWER, who is Professor Bill Ndi?
Well, thank you very much for this very important question. It is very common for people, when you are in a position, people just presume that you came to this world in that position.
Yes.
They don't see the struggles. They don't see the man behind. And it is very important to talk about the person behind Professor Ndi, who is chairing POWER, because everything, his past, his present, is what is shaping his future. Professor Bill Ndi is this is this kid who was born in a small Cameroonian locality called Bamunkandap, with parents originally from another small kingdom called Bangolan, all right, who grew up in the Cameroons, finished elementary school, went to high school, had dreams, bigger dreams like any other kid would have on the African continent of doing greater things to shape and change the world. And he went on after primary school to having university education in the Cameroons, Nigeria, France, and after that he worked. He started his professional career both in Nigeria, Cameroon, Nigeria, France, then went on to teaching across the world, England, Canada, Australia, and presently he is professor at Tuskegee University in the great state of Alabama in the United States. And I would be remiss to introduce myself without bringing to you greetings, first of all, from my university, because this university is undergoing what President Mark A. Brown calls the Renaissance. Many people might be hearing Tuskegee University not knowing what Tuskegee University stands for. It is the birthplace of Pan-Africanism. It is also the place where where education was conceived to educate black people wherever they might be, and the school was founded by formerly enslaved black people, meaning our ancestors who were captured, kidnapped, and taken by force to the U.S. They started this school, and they had been at the forefront of even what I can conceive as most of the freedoms that we experience and live. And at this period of the Renaissance, the university is bent on seeing how it could partner with African nations to train the manpower, the human resources that Africa needs to exploit the resources on the continent for the benefit of African people. So this is what I bring to you, and I also bring you greetings from my office as the president of the Pan-African Writers Association. And I just want to say, since assuming office, I have had this dream and vision, and I work towards it to make sure that our voices are heard, that we tell our stories, because if we allow others to tell the stories for us, they will tell the stories, they will twist it to fit their own narrative. And this is not what we are all about. It is about us maintaining our human dignity by telling our stories. I could just take a little example and help our viewers understand how even a simple word could come across as inoffensive, but it changes the way we see ourselves. It changes the way we talk about ourselves. When you read literature about our captured ancestors who were forced into slavery, they call them slaves. No, they were not slaves.
Exactly.
That word slave has a specific meaning. Now they are afraid to say our ancestors were captives. Because if you say captives, you blame somebody for doing the act of capturing somebody. If you called our ancestors enslaved, then you blame somebody for enslaving them. And I think we should begin to think in the sense of using words appropriately, even in our writings. When I visited Senegal before coming here, I visited the Gorée Island, and there I was so stunned that the history of our ancestors has been whitewashed to suit the narrative of the enslavers, who now want us to believe they were doing something good for us. They call the dungeons of the captives the house of slaves.
Wow.
It cannot be the house of slaves, because if it is a house of slaves, that is where the slaves, right? It is a house built by slaves in which slaves were living. But the house, the dungeon, if you happen to be there, had walls 5-6 feet thick, built with black stones, guarded with all sorts of cannons. And I question, how can we continue to tell our stories using the language of our captors and believing that to be true? This is where I step in and I encourage all and sundry, before we even write our narratives in these foreign languages, let us write them in our indigenous languages. There are expressions we can not translate in a foreign language. The foreign languages, no matter how expert we are in them, we remain foreigners. So I think this is out. I talk a lot, so
well, that's the reason we're here.
Let me pause right there.
We are hoping, like you said earlier on, that this is something that we are hoping to be a voice that we would project ourselves, and of course this conversation to be one of many that would serve as a platform to express such voices, and in any way that we are able to do that constructively, of course, in this conversation we hope to put across as much as we can with the limited time that we have. So I'd ask you just mentioned briefly about your experience of what you've seen in Senegal. Here in the Gambia, what brings you to the Gambia at this time, and how does the visit connect to Power's broader vision, if you like?
All right, thank you very much. And yet another important question. I'm here on an official visit. I'm visiting African nations and trying to sound the bell, first of all, to dignitaries within the nation, to see the need of even introducing our indigenous languages in their curriculum, to help support the Writers Association of the Gambia, which is an organization with writers who are doing a phenomenal job, but their voices are not heard. They don't have the support they need, and I think it is time that this association and its writers have their voices heard and their rightful place within the greater African literature movement and the greater universal literary movement. It is very important. We cannot expect these writers to write when they don't have the means to sustain themselves. We have to be intentional in making sure that these writers, while writing, they have what they need. They have the sustenance, they have the means, they have the requisite support. But if they do not, and if they write, is the government encouraging the culture of reading? Is the government encouraging the culture of looking inwardly? Because what is happening in most literature is that you find we write, And we cannot allow our writings to be evaluated by parameters that are foreign to us. And because we want to allow our literature to be evaluated by foreign parameters, everybody would want you, expecting you to write literature like Shakespeare. No, Shakespeare was English. He's not familiar with any reality of the Gambia.
Absolutely.
So I am interested in with my presence in the Gambia. I will be giving a talk later on today, and the talk is simply entitled Writing. That's WIRTING. Writing to write, RIGHT.
Yeah.
Our stories. Because if we look at the way our stories have been narrated over the centuries, for the past 400 years, what has been told of the black man is not what should be. And I am here to support the Writers Association of the Gambia, to also communion with the Gambian people, to make sure that the Gambian people rest assured that we value what comes out of the Gambia. We value the thinking process of the Gambian. We cannot marginalize any thinking process or do the same things our oppressors have done to us in the past and think we are doing the right thing. We have to set the record straight. We have to make sure if we are writing our history, we are telling the world what they need to know about us and not what they think about us. If I were to ask you to tell me your story, you know your story better. You will not allow somebody else to tell the story. If I am to tell your story, I will shape the narrative in a way that suits me, in a way that favors me. I could even use words that come across as if I am being benevolent to you, whereas what I am doing is absolutely taking you down.
Yeah, I mean, we'll come more into the discussion that you say you will be having later on, but right now I want us to take a step back and tell the people, the audience that is, how did the Pan-African Writers Association come into being, and what vision guided its founding?
All right. Talking about the coming into being of the Pan-African Writers Association, you know, our history dictates, first of all, how we progress, how we advance. In the 60s, the heralds of African literature, they had this meeting in Makerere, which brought together the best and the brightest souls of African writing, the Chinua Achebes, the Wole Soyinkas, the Aikwe Amas, the Lenry Peters, brought them together in Makerere. And they started pondering, what is African literature? We are writing. How do we shape our narratives? How does this, what kinds of stories do we tell? Now from there, the idea of a movement was born. And this movement became reality in the 1980s when they met again and decided that they should start a movement, the Pan-African Writers Association, which was formalized in 1987. And the founding fathers, the Wole Soyinkas, Gugiwo Thiong'o, Leopold Sedar Senghor, Chinua Achebe, they all played a critical role in its founding. And the founding of the association, even though it carries the name association, it is not just an association, it is a diplomatic mission attached to the African Union, back then the Organization of African Union. And when it was founded, the nation Ghana decided to headquarter the Pan-African Writers Association, and the headquarter is actually in Ghana. And I send a shout out to the Secretary General, Dr. Wale Okediran, who is actually in Ghana, overseeing the day-to-day running of the Pan-African Writers Association. So ever since, this association has been the voice of not just writers, but the voice of the people, a repository or a place where we preserve our culture, our identity, and we try to use our own narratives in the sphere of cultural diplomacy. Because writing in itself, we don't write because we want war. Every writer essentially is anti-war, is a peacemonger, or if you want to use the word war, every writer is a peace warrior. Because when you write, you seek to create harmony, you seek to create, even if there is chaos, you want to bring out the chaos to show the world its ugly face in order that the world could reshape itself for the better.
Earlier on, you mentioned that you will be having a talk later on. And is this something that would be directed to Gambian policymakers and cultural leaders about strengthening support for writers and literature in the Gambia?
Well, it is for the general public. First of all, the writing, I don't want to call it business. Writing as an endeavor is in itself incomplete if it does not involve the reader. The reader is the Gambian. The people doing the writing are the Gambian writers. But the Gambian writers cannot write in a vacuum. They cannot write without the support of the system within which they find themselves. And so it is the target of my talk is not just the authorities, it is the Gambian people. If I had my way, I would invite every single Gambian to come to this talk, because it is not just about writing, it is also about telling our stories. How do we sit home? You go back home in the evening, you have your 3 or 4 year kid who wants you to tell them a story. How do you tell the story in such a way that it empowers them? A story in such a way that they feel that they are being the human being, even though at the earlier stage of their growth, that they can, contribute positively in their society. How do you tell the story in a way that they don't feel that something is wrong with them? Because if you look at the narrative in the past, I know some people will say, oh, if we are all about truth, right? Yeah. We should start by criticizing ourselves. But I have a message which might shock people. Before we start infighting,
yes,
if we have a common enemy, let's do away with the enemy.
Absolutely.
And then we can resolve our issues in the house. Because if we keep fighting amongst ourselves, which is what the exploiters have understood, they keep us divided, and they are making away with everything we have. They are taking away our culture, trying to even erase their own evil. I happen to have visited the National Museum. Interestingly enough, I found a cannon, the muzzle of a cannon, at the National Museum. And I asked, what is this doing here? And I was told a white person wanted to smuggle it out of the country. It was confiscated, and ever since, it is right here. Now, that simple act of smuggling the muzzle, you might think it is just the white person wanted to preserve a piece of history. No. It was an act of erasure. He doesn't want you to have proof that to subdue you, they use that kind of a deadly weapon. And we have to do everything to preserve our history, to preserve those cultural artifacts, and not let them be swindled out. So,
which leads me to ask, talking about Gambian writers and poets, what engaging ways is the association using with Gambian authors, poets, and storytellers, and what opportunities would you say exist for them within the association?
Oh, there is a lot. There is a lot. I would use the imagery, right?
Okay.
Of the ongoing World Cup. Many people like football, right? So you see, the association is an organization, let's say, in the world of football or in the world of writing. The Pan-African Writers Association is like the FIFA of writing in Africa. And it brings together the best of the writings in the nation and exposes them and let the world see this is what is produced here, rather than in every nation there is a football league, but not every nation goes to the World Cup. When the nation goes to the World Cup, they have more exposure. So the idea of exposure is one. The idea of being an integral part of those partaking in the cultural diplomacy, trying to ascertain peace within the African continent, within the world itself, or trying to reclaim our history and using that historical reclamation as a way of liberating ourselves. The Gambian Writers Association stands to benefit. When they benefit, we all benefit. The Pan-African Writers Association equally is not fully Pan-African if they neglect any member state. And in your opening, you mentioned it doesn't all, we have 6 arms of the Pan-African Writers Association, which means we have the West African arm, and it happens to be headed by an able Gambian, Professor Cherno Barry, to whom I send a shout out.
Impressive.
Yes, because he is the vice president of the Pan-African Writers Association, in charge of all of West Africa. So all the West African writers, they pay their allegiance to the Gambia.
Barry,
yes.
Impressive.
That's it. And he is one. You have the northern region, you have the southern region, you have the East African region and Central African region, and there is the 6th arm, which we should not neglect,
which is
the diaspora. The diaspora, meaning those of us who are living out of the continent, those of us who were forcefully removed out of this continent and implanted in other parts of the world. Those of us who even left the continent to seek greener pastures. It is not like we left the continent and we left behind our history. We took our history along. We are out there. We still follow what is happening in the country very closely to make sure that we are not disconnected. We are not complete without our past. So we hold on to that. So this is what the Pan-African Writers Association actually brings to the table to writers in the Gambia. We want to show our support for Gambian writing. We don't want to let the writing be a writing that is written and left unread, left unspoken about. We have to talk about the writing. Gambia produces some great writing, and we must talk about the great writing. So I could go on and on because
unfortunately we've completely exhausted our time.
Because on a personal note, I could share this.
Please do.
And then I'll end there.
Yeah.
On a personal note, I took the office with the goal of helping translate literature produced in every nation into other languages, and I have translated a book on Gambian short stories, and that book will certainly be coming out and will be launched at some point, whether I'm here or not. But that is just one thing that comes across as a contribution that the Gambia has benefited. I translated the Gambian short stories into the French language because I know you have neighboring Senegal, you have the French-speaking world that might be interested in it. And above all, I would like a book like that to be used in the Gambia for kids who are learning French, because they'll be learning the language with their own realities, not foreign realities.
Hopefully the authorities are listening and will take your advice into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming, Mr. Ndi, once again. And I hope you will enjoy the rest of your stay in the Gambia.
Thank you very much.
All right. And that was Professor Bill Ndi, President of the Pan-African Writers Association, sharing his reflections and insights with us this morning.
Yëpp lay fay. Sant yàlla. looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
A better way to pay your UTG fees with instant proof of payment and real-time student portal update. Paying your University of the Gambia fees has never been easier or more convenient. With EcoBank, students, parents and guardians can pay UTG tuition and related fees through our secure digital banking channels such as EcoBank mobile app, EcoBank Online and EcoBank Omni Lite. Once payment is completed, instant proof of payment is generated and the UTG student portal is updated in real time, allowing students to proceed immediately with registration, course selection, and clearance without unnecessary delays, while giving parents and guardians peace of mind that payments have been successfully processed. How to pay via the EcoBank mobile app. Open the EcoBank mobile app and navigate to the home screen. Select Pay Bill. Choose Pay a New Bill and select Schools from the category options. Select University of the Gambia. Select the specific product you are paying for. Enter your matriculation number and tap Continue. Validate your details. The system will display the payable amount. Press Continue to confirm the payment. An e-receipt is generated automatically as proof of payment with real-time updates on the student portal. How to pay via EcoBank Online or Omni Lite. Log in to EcoBank Online and Omni Lite using your credentials. Select the menu and choose Bill Payments. Choose Quick Bill Pay and select School from the category options. Select University of the Gambia. Select the specific product you are paying for. Enter your matriculation number and tap Continue. Validate your details. The system will display the payable amount. Press Continue to confirm the payment. An e-receipt is generated automatically as proof of payment with real-time updates on the student portal. Walk into any EcoBank branch or pay through our digital channels and enjoy instant proof of payment with real-time updates on the student portal. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.